jeez, I just saw my camera flicker too.
I know, it's okay.
If it just frustrates me. Hey, everyone, you can see my Discord for a moment. And now you can't. All right. We should be live. I'm going to throw a link in.
It says off air.
Yeah, it'll say off air on our end, but if you look at the actual link I gave you, it'll show we're up. We have people even chatting already.
Cool.
What's up, Ryan and Fire Falcon X and Chelsea? I'll give a couple minutes here. Wait for some people to come in. Because I know it sometimes takes a little bit. And now my thing is flickering like crazy. Camera, listen. For one live stream, listen. I don't want to go grab my old webcam because I don't know where it is. All right. Man, the flicker.
I'm hearing the repeat of the audio. Are you sure we're live here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have the stream link up on your end? You might just have the audio playing from the link. Because I have it all muted on my end. Like I literally am hearing my desktop audio through mine, and there's nothing coming through.
Let's see. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to hit here for. What am I supposed to mute exactly here?
So if you have any of those links I sent you, you know, if the live stream links open at all, you got to make sure the audio is muted on it. Otherwise, you're just going to hear us.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yep.
Got it. Done.
Yep. I was going to say, because it's not on my end. So I'm like, all right. I think we're good now. All right.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, we're good. Hello, everybody.
Hey,
welcome
how's
to
it
his
going,
channel.
Guys? So, welcome to a very different kind of live stream. Not one that happens often. I think last time we did this was a debate between Player Essence and myself. Today is not a debate because we're on the same page. It's more of a discussion and a response because I think right now in the Nintendo community, when it comes to Dark Souls Remastered, Super Metal Dave, our guest, and myself might be the most misunderstood and potentially hated people on this topic in the planet. So, we're here today to make our case. And I obviously have to give a shout-out to SuperMetalDave64. This was his entire idea. He wanted me to host it. He wanted to do this. Go ahead and check out his channel down in the description if you want. And I also linked his video down in the description as well on this topic. It basically mirrors a lot of the same thoughts my video on this did. He just presents it in a slightly different way. And I'm actually going to let Super Metal Dave take the floor here initially because he's got quite a lot to say.
So thank you guys for coming to the stream. Basically, shout outs to everybody out there who follows me on Twitter, all those quote unquote little guys. Like you'd say you have one follower, a couple followers. I've talked to you in DMs, things like that. I fully support you guys and your voice. I know some of you out there feel like you can't talk to these bigger content creators or influencers, quote unquote. So I fully support you guys, and you guys do deserve your voice. And I've heard what you said. So think of this as kind of like me supporting you, and back and forth, we can discuss this. And also in regards to Dark Souls in general, the game is a great game. This is not about anything to do with the game being of low quality or something like that. The game is a good game. We all know that. This is solely about it being kind of misleading in terms of how it's named Dark Souls Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. And we're going to discuss why we feel it doesn't deserve to be called that for this this port.
Exactly. So my thing was in my video, I approached it from here's what the game actually is. So when I hear the word remastered, a lot of things pop in my mind, and I realize a lot of games have been remastered very poorly. So I don't know that I blame Dark Souls for it in particular. They're just the latest example of a really poorly defined remaster. The thing is that Oh man, I lost my train of thought for a second. When you look at a term like remaster, I'm thinking complete visual overhaul. I'm thinking complete potential audio overhaul, or both. The Nintendo Switch version of Dark Souls Remastered does neither. And what's even sucks about it more is the little bit of changes that were made in this game on PlayStation 4, Xbox One. Those changes aren't actually present in the Switch version. So the Switch version is almost entirely different from that perspective. And it bothers me that people are just okay with the terminology of it. And again, like you said, it doesn't mean that Dark Souls Remastered on Switch is a bad game. Dark Souls is a good game. And it running at higher resolution and a more stable 30 FPS and being able to take it on the go are great reasons to justify buying the game. Right. So my argument has nothing to do with the quality of the game or your guys' experience. If you bought the game and you're enjoying the game, awesome. That's why we're all here, right? SuperMetalDave, myself, like we're gamers. We buy games to have fun, even if you don't like someone's opinion on it. Several of the Starlink reviews opinions out there I don't like. Doesn't make me enjoy the game any less, though. So I guess we can kind of start with maybe one of the most common things we hear, or I've heard anyways, that because it's a higher resolution and a higher frame rate, it qualifies as a remaster. What do you think, SuperMetalDave?
I don't agree because the assets haven't been changed. So you guys may not have seen the Digital Foundry video, but it was very obvious when they put it. It's in my video. I put it in there also that they didn't change any of the assets from the original Xbox 360 version, except for actually downgrading some of the assets to like some of the lava effects and fire effects, particle effects had been basically they said, well, they showed the comparison. It's been downgraded to have it run at a higher frame rate, and they also downgraded the audio, which I thought was which bothered me a lot. And so it runs at a higher frame rate and it runs in a higher resolution, but the assets are exactly the same, if not worse, than the Xbox 360 version. So I don't consider that a remaster because when you look at other examples of remasters, they have new textures, they have increased detail on characters, they have, and of course they have the increased frame rate and resolution on top of it. So, and then you have the other aspect of it is that you know, I'm seeing people say, well, it says remastered on the box, so it must be remastered because they say it is. Well, I don't care what the publisher says, guys. I don't care. If it doesn't seem to be a remaster to me, you know, in my opinion, then I'm going to stick by that. Also, compared to other games, this doesn't qualify as a remaster. Hyrule Warriors on the Switch runs at a higher resolution, better frame rate. Is that a remaster? Did they call it a remaster?
Definitive edition.
Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, 4-year-old port, 1080p, 60 frames per second, new character. Does that qualify as a remaster? No.
You waiting for me to respond?
I'm saying no. But Payday. Here's a third-party example. Payday on the Switch. 900p. Xbox 360 version runs at 720p. Increased, better frame rate, you know, what have you. Does that qualify as a remaster? Okay, so the thing is, then you have other games on the Switch that do qualify as remasters that are not named a remaster. LA Noire. Better textures, increased frame rate, higher 1080p. The box art does not say remaster on it, does it? You can look it up yourself. Skyrim on the Switch does not say remaster on the box art. Better textures, better lighting, better, a solid frame rate than the Xbox 360 version. Doesn't say anywhere on there remaster at all. You know, what is it? We got other examples too. I think I'm sure you could think of some.
Well, I'll just give a general example. This has been like my number one counterpoint is because I game on PC sometimes, right? So when I upgrade my PC hardware and a game suddenly has better frame rate and better resolution because of the hardware, does that suddenly mean it's a remastered game? Like
yeah,
no,
also,
like a game on Xbox One that runs better on Xbox One X, is the Xbox One X version of that game a remastered game? Like the answer is no. When you take a game and you put it on better hardware, it has better resolution and frame rate. That's just that's the whole point of better hardware. Like that,
exactly.
It's still just a port. I think the only credit I will give of any kind to anyone arguing for a remaster is that the term remaster has been kind of ran through the mud in the gaming community. Because there are games that I would probably consider to be a remaster that are not being called that.
Right.
Like
the ones we mentioned.
Like Twilight Princess HD, The Wind Waker HD. Rework textures, rework visuals, plus the higher resolution. And some people will say, oh, it's not. Actually, if you examine it close enough, they redid a lot of things in those games from a visual perspective. Mm-hmm. But they're just called HD, which that makes sense because the games weren't originally in HD, and I think HD is a bigger selling point than remastered anyways. And I think that kind of gets into the realm of, I guess, what is a remastered game to you?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like we can go on with Red Dead Redemption 1 on the Xbox One X, runs at native 4K and then backwards compatibility. Is that a remaster? No, it's just running in backwards compatibility. You know, I mean, they don't even call it one. They had an opportunity actually to re-release that game, probably sell it for $29.99 in 4K native and make some money, but they didn't do that. And it's interesting. Also, Monster Hunter Double Cross Generations 3DS to Switch port. That's not called remaster, and that is like what 4 or 5 times the resolution of that game, right? 1080p, 30 frames per second, what have you, compared to 240p. That's not even considered remastered, guys. Think about it. They didn't even increase the assets in that game either from the 3DS. They just basically did it everything in high res. Anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so if just resolution and frame rate equals a remaster, then are things like Wolfenstein 2 on Switch a demaster?
I don't know.
I'm just using people's qualifications here.
It's a port.
Yeah.
Dark Souls Remastered is a 360 port.
Yes.
It's plain and simple. It just runs at a higher resolution, just like Payday 2 on the Switch is a port from Xbox 360 running at a higher resolution.
Yep. And they added like quality of life stuff, right? That's another argument I've heard. You know, they made it from like 4 players to 6 players online. And they added like an extra bonfire here and a couple other changes. I've heard button mapping was being
screwed that up.
But apparently it's all screwed up. So someone told me there's custom button mapping in it. So I actually played it for my first time today, and I couldn't change my button mapping. So the button mapping was actually horrible, terrible. A
is B and B is A.
A is B and B is A, and it's completely messed up compared to every other game on the platform.
It reminds me of playing an old Dreamcast game. I remember that. It was like kind of similar. I think on Dreamcast they had the A and B buttons kind of flipped on the controller itself.
Yeah. And I know, guys, I understand Nintendo's A and B is flipped compared to everyone else right now, but they've had it that way for 30 years. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell me that in like what did they take like an extra 6 months on this version? They couldn't get the button mapping right.
Yeah. So the thing is that obviously it's an opinion. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you think it's a remaster because the box says it is and Bandai Namco says it is, that's totally fine. It's just my point with my video, and the whole reason why I didn't go into a whole bunch of detail like this in my video and like, look at this, and it's not a remaster, and this is a remaster, is because I thought it was obvious. Mm-hmm. They said so, and did the Digital Foundry comparison that this is an Xbox 360 port. I mean, they said it. So I'm like, okay, it's not a remaster.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When you have, they're not the only ones. If you actually go around and read like reviews of the Switch version, everyone basically agrees in the reviews, you know, that are actually comparing versions, not reviews like, I know RGT85 put out a review and talked about all these positive things. He didn't actually compare it to anything else. He just,
of course,
it was like his first time playing the game. So yeah, he had an awesomely positive review for a very good game. He's late to the party. And that's fine. Those reviews should exist because there's plenty of people, especially on Switch, who have never played Dark Souls. So just an honest Dark Souls review for Switch is great. But all the ones that did cross compare it, I saw a lot of headlines actually that are like, this game has more in common with the 360 version than the actual remastered version. And I think that might have been part of what caused the delay for the game on Switch. Is I think they actually tried to get the PlayStation Xbox One version running, and they just could not get it to, Virtuous, who worked on the port, just for whatever reason could not get it to actually run on Switch. I'm confused why they couldn't make it run on Switch, because it's not like it's super impressive on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
No, it's not. It doesn't look that great in the first place.
Should have hired Panic Button. Have them do everything.
It's such a disappointment, in my opinion, because the game was announced first on the Switch, and they call it Dark Souls Remastered right off the bat.
Yep.
On the Switch.
Yep. And I'll give them some credit. The initial footage they showed for it didn't have any of the new effects in it either. But the thing is, when you get an announcement trailer, it's not really, you're not examining it to see what every little change is yet, right? You're just like, oh, Dark Souls Remastered. They showed us a little footage of it running. They probably just got it up. Cool. Let's see what happens. And then we see what all the new effects are. I know some people don't like the new effects, by the way. I get it. Like, some people prefer the look of the original. And that happens across the board. People don't like the look of the Wind Waker HD, and they prefer the look of the original. Like, I get it. It's
personally, I like a mix of both of the Dark Souls old and the new, because some of the new effects do look cool. Some of the old ones look cool too.
Yeah. See, and what's nice is put it on PC, and you can pick which ones you.
There you go.
Anyways, I just thought it was weird. Like, I felt like they couldn't get it to run, so they said, you know what? Let's scrap that whole mess. Let's start over and just port over the 360 version, and just be sure we add in the quality of life changes, because even for the remastered version of the system, it's still the same code base for the game. That's the big thing with remasters. Like, the difference between a remaster and a remake. A remake is they're rebuilding that game from the ground up, and they're just looking at the old game on how to structure it. Like, what they're trying to do with the Resident Evil 7 remake as an example. That's a remake. They started from ground zero.
Right.
Whereas with these games, you're using the original code base anyways. So technically on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it's a port.
Yeah.
They just added some effects on top.
Yeah, you got straight port, and you got remaster, and then you got remake. So I think you got 3 different tiers here.
I'd even throw because
or enhanced port.
Yeah, that's the one that I think we're missing. Because I think enhanced port. I don't think there's levels to this, because it's obviously personal preference, but it's kind of. We're talking about marketing terms.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly,
that's the whole point here.
Like the Wind Waker HD, they're using that as a marketing term. They could have called it remastered. To me, it would have been the same thing. But I think the issue with the marketing terms is that the gaming industry has muddled these terms so much that nobody knows what they even mean anymore. And I think it used to be really, really clear. And I think the reason it was so clear is because when you remastered a game for, say, 360, PlayStation 3, or PlayStation 4, Xbox One, originally it involved taking a lot of sub HD games and making them HD, and it wasn't as simple as let's just run them in a higher resolution like an emulator. They had to do new textures and new effects to make it actually look good, on today's consoles. And that used to actually be like what kicked off remasters. And then obviously now we're going from technically Dark Souls on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 is slightly sub HD, but whatever. It's close enough that you can consider it HD. So they're going from HD to HD. I expect I expect a better improvement than just better HD and better frame rate. That happens with new hardware. So now where's the effort that was put into when you brought these older games up and you retextured them and you added all these new lighting and all these new effects? Where is that effort in today's remasters?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said in my video is I expected. I mean, the Switch is supposed to be more powerful than Xbox 360, obviously, by quite a
pretty
deal,
significant margin. Yeah.
Now, so what I expected at the very bottom of the barrel least is the exact same feature set as Xbox 360, including all the effects because they had some downgraded.
Yeah, I can't believe I can't confirm this, even though I've played it. I didn't actually pixel count, so. If you don't like Digital Foundry, sucks I'm referencing them, But it is what it is. I think a lot of people that don't like Digital Foundry don't like the fan base that surrounds it more than they. I think people can't separate how fans react to Digital Foundry to what Digital Foundry is actually saying. And they don't always get everything right either. But he basically notes in there that this one section, the fire is a much lower resolution, like significantly lower, and they show it in the video than it is on Switch. And it's like, why?
I don't know. I mean, there's no explanation for it, right?
I think one of the coolest things they added to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version of the remaster is they made it so the foliage and all this stuff actually moves. It's not static. Like, to me, that's a big part of making a world feel like it's real and you're not just playing in a painting. There's technically moving paintings out there. So
I called it a lazy port in my video because I kind of feel like it is. Like, come on, Nintendo 64 compression. I mean, not really Nintendo 64, but it reminded me of
audio files. Oh, the audio files.
Back in the day, remember that? You'd be like, man, I wish I had better audio in N64. This sounds really muffled, you know? And that reminded me of that when they did that. How could you do that with a 4 GB game? Just add like another 100 megabytes. Do something.
Player Essence wants in on this. He's in the chat and he's like, you guys should let me and Shadow Fox in on the discussion. I will leave that up to Super Metal Dave. It's he's the one who wanted to do this. Not that I don't want to do it, but it wasn't my idea.
Well, I mean, we're pretty much done anyway, right? I mean, I don't have much more to add.
I mean, outside, without people bringing in counterpoints, there really isn't much more to say. I mean, I'm just glancing at the chat. There doesn't seem to be a lot of people necessarily disagreeing.
I don't want to make this some big, huge, long. I mean, I don't have all night to discuss it. Basically, my point was, it's up to the publisher to call it whatever they want to call it. So
Sure.
Bandai Namco says it's a remaster, and they put it on the box, and the fans say, well, they said it is, so that's what it is. But in my opinion, I don't believe it is because of the examples I already gave. So that's pretty much it. I mean, legally, they can. There's nothing we can do about that, obviously. I mean, I called it false marketing because I think that's what it is, but there's nothing I can really do about it. It's up to them. I just think it was a bad term.
Yeah, I mean,
they want to sell as many copies of the game as possible, so they want to call it Dark Souls Remastered because it feels like a brand new experience when they sell it, right? That's obviously what they did. But I do think they could call it Dark Souls for the Nintendo Switch, and it could also be, pretty successful too.
Sure. And OJ, if you want to team up to have like a debate about this later tonight, that's fine. We can do it because I'm not going to keep Super Metal Dave here all night, and I want to keep this video separate from anything like that. So
yeah, we don't want to do it too long because you're going to put it on your channel for later.
Well, whenever it's done processing, I'll just have it go live. So that's pretty much it. To just like address probably the elephant in the room that I think some people got upset about, or some certain people, especially OJ, the calling it a false advertising. I think I kind of see both sides of the spectrum because I feel it's false advertising based on what I grew up with in terms of what remaster means. Right, I talked about it before, about what remasters used to be compared to what they are seemingly doing today. We've seen a ton of really bad remasters that are, I would argue, are just lazy remasters. I don't know why they're calling them remasters. That are just ports or slightly enhanced ports. Because it used to not mean port. Like, remaster wasn't synonymous with porting to a new platform. I will fully admit, in 2018, heading into 2019, it's kind of become synonymous with it. But for me, like, this is why I call it false advertising. It's not just Dark Souls Remastered. It's a lot of other remastered games. In that they almost forgot what that term meant, and now it's overused to the point that anything's a remaster. Literally anything's a remaster. They want to call it a remaster, it's a remaster. It doesn't. They could make 0 changes. They could bring this to like the next Switch and not up the resolution, not up the frame rate. Nothing runs different. There's no differences. It's just a port. And they can call it a remaster if they want, and people are just going to be like, "Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. It's cool. It's still and I think my issue is that the definitions of these terms have been so muddled that legally you probably can't argue, you know, you can't take them to court and be like, yeah, I'm gonna sue you for false advertising. Like, you can't really get away with it because obviously, like, a lot of words in the English language, the definition changes over time. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Sometimes it means something completely different. See, like, this is a controversial word to say, I guess, for some reason. But when I was a kid,
all about having an opinion.
When I was a kid, like in my early years, when people said the word gay, it meant happy. As I started growing up, it meant something totally different. It was being used as an insult. And I'm like, I couldn't process for the longest time why this word that means happy is being used as an insult. I don't get it. And then I still didn't get it what the actual insult was in the first place. But people just having issues with other people, I guess. But
yeah, basically, I was disappointed in the port because of it seemed like to me it was like a patch of the Xbox 360 game and higher resolution, better frame rate. And I made the comparison to like, yeah, they just patched Wolfenstein 2 with high resolution. You know, it's the same kind of thing. Obviously, it's not a remaster, but you know, it's just a you know, comparison analogy. It's no big deal. It's just one of those things that I just disagree, and I'm not going to change my mind. That's just how I feel. You know, so
yeah. I mean, it's like a lot of stances I have. I have some controversial opinions at times on certain things. This being one of them, although I don't know.
It's not controversial.
I don't think it's controversial. I think it's just saying anything negative about this game right now is just taboo. Like, you can't. So many people are happy, right? It's such a good game that like this would be like when Breath of the Wild came out, and I get super critical of Breath of the Wild the day it comes out. Like, people aren't going to like that. Even if I've been playing the game and I've played it and I have these criticisms and they can be legit for my taste in things, you know, more people are going to be upset about it at that point than if we had said this like 6 months from now. I don't think most people would even care.
Right. I mean, it is what it is. It was basically, I thought it was a given that it was an Xbox 360 port. So apparently opinions are different. So, but yeah, you know, that's my stance on it, and that's it.
Yeah. Dude, I totally get it. Totally respect it. You know, you and I are on the same wavelength on this a little bit, or a lot of it, I should say. I'm trying to understand the other side more and more when I hear it. I'm like, I get it.
Well, I mean, just think about what I said earlier. You know, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, 1080p, 60 frames per second. The Wii U version was 720p. You know, they even added a character in the Switch version, but it's not called a remaster. So it's like these definitions, that obviously they're by the publisher, but the fan.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that you, the fan out there, you can decide what you consider to be a remaster or not. It's not up to the publisher to tell you.
Yeah, and again, a lot of personal taste. You guys love the game. Love the game. You think it's a great remaster, then cool. It's a great remaster. I guess I just have higher expectations. And I guess, you know, whether or not it's false advertising is going to be up to, I guess, what you personally are expecting out of a remaster. I don't look at the false advertising as I'm trying to argue that they intentionally misled people per se, which I know that's what false advertising means from a legal stance. They're telling you something that's not true, right? That's the legal stance, legal definition of false advertising. Companies get sued over that crap all the time. That's why we don't get a lot of the fun commercials anymore that are clearly lying to you, because some people are idiots and believe the lies. Like, it's a joke, but they don't get that it's a joke, so then it's a lawsuit. Now they add like that super fine print to try to protect themselves now, so people can't do that. Just like they had to tell people that McDonald's coffee's hot because apparently it wasn't obvious. So it's one of those things where I think the false advertising narrative is more of these companies, like what they did with this, and like they've done with other remasters over, say, the past 5 years or so, that have been so lazily done. Every time they've called it a remaster, and it's been nothing but a resolution bump, and well, not nothing but in terms of visual presentation, a resolution bump and a frame rate bump. Like, to me, all those companies falsely advertised, because if you look what remasters were, then suddenly they stopped doing that. They stopped putting in the effort. And when they stop putting in the effort, they falsely are advertising it by calling it a remaster instead of just calling it a port.
It's just weird. Why don't they call LA Noire a remaster? They should, because it has improved textures and improved, resolution. But they don't. They just call it LA Noire. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird double thing there. But anyway,
by the way, Sofa King, the coffee thing, I know it was justified. The temperature of that coffee was at a crazy level. I don't know why. Like, I've worked at McDonald's. I don't know why they let that coffee be at that hot. Their machine was clearly broken. Like I said, I've worked at McDonald's that we actually have temperature probes and everything to keep it within a certain level. Was not within that level. That lawsuit was I would have sued the hell out of McDonald's as well. But it's just it's one of those ironic things, that it didn't need to be that hot for McDonald's to get sued. It didn't need to be that hot. And there's plenty of examples of lawsuits out there like that where the lawsuit was justified because of how hot the coffee was. But honestly, if the coffee even wasn't that hot and the person just said it was, they could have still sued. All they would need is a red mark on their body from hot liquid. Honestly, I know it was the actual lawsuit was way worse. I've seen some pictures. It's pretty gruesome. But yeah. Anyways, that was our little stream here. A couple of 30 minutes. I'll probably pop back on here in 15, 20 minutes with another stream for you guys tonight, because it is our usual Monday night streams. Blue Bolt, I did see your super chat earlier. I'll get your shot in for that and everything on the next stream, since this stream is going to be going live here. I don't know, some point tonight, whenever YouTube's done with it.
But this is our first time doing this, so shout outs to you. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it. It was
no
fun.
problem. I mean, it was your idea. You reached out, and I'm like, dude, I stream anyways tonight. Let's go.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, shout out to SuperMetalDave. Obviously, this is something that maybe we can plan ahead and maybe do another thing like this sometime for a longer period, and not just have it be on one topic. Maybe talk about a whole bunch of things. I think that might be fun to do sometime. I know people on my channel love getting extra guests in here from YouTube, whether it's you, whether it's Player Essence, whether it's 5J or whoever. People we had She Says on before. People love when we get these extra guests, and so hopefully it's something we can line up to do again with more notice for both of us.
It was a spur of the moment kind of thing.
But I'm glad we were able to do this. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure, if you guys have never heard of SuperMetalDave, go down to the description, check out his channel. Also check out his video he did on this very topic if you're looking for his other stance that he took on it that didn't involve all these examples and all this stuff. Just his base premise for why he feels it's false advertising. And my base premise, you can go check out my video as well on my channel for my base premise on why I think this is basically just a really super bad job of marketing for this game. And that's all it's going to be. All right?
Cool.
We'll catch you guys. I'll catch you guys in a little bit, and you guys can go catch SuperMetalDave whenever he puts up a new video. Hey, do you have a new video coming soon?
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe.
I don't really plan too much. I just kind of
whenever something comes up.
See what's going on. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't force videos. Basically, I just put whatever up.
Sure. No, that sounds good. All right, so go check out his channel, and who knows? Whenever a topic comes up he wants to talk about, there'll be a video.
But it will be interesting, I guarantee.
It always is on your channel, let me tell you. All right,
thanks,
folks.
man. Appreciate it.
You can go follow him on Twitter as well. What?
At SMetalDave64.
There you go, SMetalDave64 on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter as well, at Ninty Prime, if there's any of SMD's fans checking out the stream. All right. Peace out, guys.